All right. What did I say about the El Segundo earthquake? Go back to the first page, and I said El Segundo earthquake had 39.81 mu, not right. So this is El Segundo, and the Castaic earthquake. Oh, okay. Well, forget that. I guess I don't need this. All right. So I don't need this. Sorry about that. I'm giving you all the information you need for this. Right. So it's 1.6. And the reason it's 1.6 is because 10 raised to the 1.6 power turns out to be that number, 39.81. We say Castaic was a 3.5 because, or maybe I should write this down. 10 to the 1.6 is 39.81. And 10 raised to the 3.5 is the level of the energy released by the Castaic earthquake, which was 3162 mu naught. Okay, but you don't need to know these large numbers. I mean, after all, what we are about to do is to divide 3162 by 39.81, and that's going to give you the answer. But you don't need to go back to this. What we need to do is to compare this magnitude and this magnitude. And here's what happens. Because the Castaic earthquake was caused by energy described as 10 raised to the 3.5 times mu naught, the earthquake energy level, and then the El Segundo one was caused by the 10 to the 1.6 mu naught, right? So what we have to do is to compare them. What is the ratio of these numbers? And the thing is, clearly this can be erased, right? So it doesn't matter what you use as the reference number. And in fact, when you divide a let me do a little algebra here. When you divide x to the a divided by x to the b, it turns out to be x to the a minus b. Right? Why is that? Well, you can tell, like if you have 2 to the 5th divided by 2 to the 3rd, of course that's 32 divided by 8. This is basically 2 divided by 2, right? 2 to the 5th divided by 2 to the 3rd. So really, all three of these will be erased or canceled, leaving you with 2 2's, which is 4. And of course, that's 2 square. So the exponents work this way. When you divide the when you divide an exponential expression by another exponential expression with the same base, it turns out the division can be done by subtracting the top number, the top exponent minus the bottom exponent. Right. So the answer to this is actually going to be 10 raised to the 3.5 minus 1.6, and that's 10 raised to what? This is an easy calculation. All you have to do is subtract 1.9. Okay, and that turns out to be about 79.4. All right, so this is what you can say. Let me go ahead and write this down in English in statement. What this says is that the Castaic quake was 79.4 times as powerful as the El Segundo quake. Does it make sense? We are comparing the amount of energy released by these two earthquakes. And it really comes down to, and again, you can compare any two earthquakes if you know the magnitude. And what you do is to subtract the magnitudes, okay, and raise 10 to that power. So 10 to the power, which is the difference, the exponent is the difference of the two earthquake magnitudes on Richter scale reading. That turns out to be the energy level. You make sure you raise 10 to that number. Okay, so let's go to the Northridge. Let me go ahead and use red. The Northridge earthquake was a 6.7. Jamaica, Cuba was a, what was that earthquake? That was a 7.7. How do I know it's 7.7? Do we describe that? Well, because here's the deal. if you go back to the information I gave you on the front, the Jamaica earthquake had 50.12 million, right? So 10 to what number turns out to be 50.12 million? And the answer, again, you know that 10 million is 10 to the 7th power. So, so 10 million is 10 to the 7th, 100 million is 10 to the 8th. So the answer has to be between 7 and 8. And it turns out it is 7.7. If you can verify this, if you raise 10 to the 7.7th power, you get about 50.12 million times mu naught. So the Jamaica-Cuba earthquake was registered as a 7.7. Okay, and Tohoku, the one that caused the meltdown of the Fukushima plant, Daiichi plant, was a 9.1. Okay, and the reason it's 9.1 is, again, 10 to the 9.1 is that intensity that I gave you earlier, which is like 1.26 billion. Okay, so because the energy released by that earthquake happened to be about 1.26 billion times mu naught, the Tohoku earthquake registered as a 9.1 quake. That's one of the largest and most devastating earthquakes, again, in the recent history. All right, so let's compare these two. So what is that? It's 10, 7.7 minus 6.7. So the calculation, the math is actually easy, right? If you understand this portion here, because all you have to do, again, is to find the difference between the Richter scale reading and raise 10 to that power. This is much easier than pretty much anything else. 7.7 minus 6.7 is 1. What's 10 to the first? Okay, that's 10, right? All right, so that means which one? The Jamaica-Cuba earthquake actually was 10 times as powerful as the Northridge earthquake. All right, let's compare these two. And so that would be, we're trying to find out how much more powerful the Tohoku earthquake of Japan was compared to the Jamaica-Cuba earthquake of 2020. So this is 9.1 minus 7.7, which is 1.4, and you raise 10 to that power. Okay, and you do this on your calculator because you can't really do this by hand. You know the answer is going to be between 10 and 100, because 100 is 10 squared, and this number is clearly smaller than 2, right? So the answer turns out to be 25.1. All right, so let's go ahead and write down what we just found when you compared these three earthquakes. Okay, we're going to do so using English sentences. The Jamaica-Cuba earthquake was 10 times as powerful as the Northridge quake. Now, that doesn't mean that the Northridge earthquake was a minor one. Okay, especially given the fact that this happened right in the city of Los Angeles, in the Northridge area. That was caused a devastating and dire consequences, right? And again, that is not to minimize the damages caused by the Jamaica-Cuba earthquake, but you can tell by the mathematics here that the Northridge earthquake, well, the Jamaica-Cuba earthquake actually had the 10 times the level of energy released by the Northridge earthquake. All right, the Tohoku, by the way, just means northeast. Okay, so the northeastern region of Japan, the Tohoku region of Japan, was hit by that quake. The Tohoku quake was over 25 times as strong as the Jamaica-Cuba quake. Okay, so that's what we found using these Richter scale magnitude numbers. All right, you'll have questions like this on your homework and in your quiz. So go ahead and try the online or the paper quiz first, and then go to the online quiz for section 6.2. Don't forget to do your homework as well. All right, that's it for 6.2. I will see you later. Have a wonderful day.